A little boy of 13 was on his way to school. He heard a crowd of people laughing and he went to take a look. Thousands were listening to the stories of one man. He spoke with such wisdom, even the kids could understand. The hours passed so quickly, the day turned into night. Everyone was hungry, but there was no food in sight. The boy looked in his lunchbox at the little that he had. He wasn't sure what good it'd do. There were thousands to be fed, but he saw the twinkling eyes of Jesus, the kindness in his smile, and the boy cried out with the trust of a child. He said, "Take my 5 loaves and 2 fishes, do with it as you will. I surrender. Take my fears, my inhibitions, all my burdens, my ambitions. You can use it all to feed them all." I often think about that boy when I'm feeling small, and I worry that the work I do means nothing at all. But every single tear I cry is a diamond in his hand. Every door that slams in my face, I will offer up in prayer. So I'll give you every breath that I have. Oh Lord, you can work miracles. All you need is my amen. So take my 5 loaves and 2 fishes, do with it as you will. I surrender. Take my fears, my inhibitions, all my burdens, my ambitions. You can use it all. I hope it's not too small. I trust in you. I trust in you. So take my 5 loaves and 2 fishes, do with it as you will. I surrender. Take my fears, my inhibitions, all my burdens, my ambitions. You can use it all. No gift is too small.
Thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. Mary, help of Christians, pray for us. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Good afternoon, educators. Thank you for joining us today. This is Reggie Bundang from Don Bosco Press Incorporated. Welcome to Chalk Talk Online. Chalk Talk Online is an online teacher training program that Don Bosco Press provides its client partner schools. But this time, we're going beyond academics, going beyond teacher training. We would like to talk about mental health this time. Mental health is a very important aspect in education, as pointed out by even by the Department of Education. So that's why Don Bosco Press partnered with the Psychological Association of the Philippines to bring you a series of mental health talks. Okay, for today, our topic is mental health program in school, suggested scope, support system, and structure. So I'm sure it's going to be a very productive afternoon for everybody. Let us start the ball rolling by calling in the executive director of Don Bosco Press Incorporated, Brother Carmelo Martinez, Salesians of Don Bosco.
Good afternoon, dear friends and fellow educators. How are you today? And I just invite you to answer this poll. Are you A, happy, sad, bad, excited, or inspired? Okay, thank you for participating in this poll. Yeah, right now it's still moving around 40% of our participants here this afternoon are happy, around 30% are excited, and 21% inspired. There is also a small percentage of participants who are sad. Just stay on with your feeling. I hope that our speaker this afternoon will also be able to assist you in some way in the sadness that you are perhaps experiencing. Okay, thank you for participating in that simple poll. And welcome to this first session of the seminar series on promoting mental well-being in schools. Since we started organizing different Chalk Talk online series last May, we have often heard from our speakers and sharers the importance of making sure that schools are also preparing and strengthening their guidance office, both the personnel and the programs, as we begin the new school year in this time of pandemic. One guest expert even said that for this coming school year, next to the academic program, the guidance program will be a very crucial component of the teaching learning process. We also got suggestions from you, our dear partner schools and participants, to help you provide training, especially as DepEd asks schools to provide psychosocial intervention programs on the first weeks of the coming school year. And so we are here this afternoon for this first installment of our series on promoting mental well-being in schools. You are well aware that we in Don Bosco Press believe in partnership and in collaboration. And so we thank the Psychological Association of the Philippines with their current president, Dr. Ron Resurrection, for partnering with us and for connecting us to their other members and experts who are equipped and experienced to provide us with practical and important inputs on this important subject of mental health in schools at this time of pandemic. Thank you so much, Doc Ron, and thanks to the Psychological Association of the Philippines for helping us in this endeavor. May I just know if you have been participating in our other Chalk Talk online series? I think this is already our program, fourth program in the series. We have the partnership with the University of the Philippines Open University. We have the Google for Education series. We have the ongoing Chef series and the parenting, and relationships at home series. This is the fifth. May I just know if you have been part of our other Chalk Talk online series? Okay, the poll is up. Okay, majority of our participants this afternoon have been participants too in our other Chalk Talk online series, around 74%. And also a good number, 26% of our participants this afternoon are participating in a Chalk Talk online series for the first time. So welcome back to those who have been with us before, and welcome to our new timers. And we hope that you all will have an enriching and enjoyable afternoon. Likewise, as we thank the Psychological Association of the Philippines, uh, with Sir Doc Ron in helping us to be in touch and to create this series, we also thank in advance Miss Juliet D. Consista, Guidance Counselor of the Ateneo de Manila Junior High School, for saying yes to our invitation to be our moderator in the discussion later on after the inputs. So thank you, Ma'am Juliet, for your availability and for sharing with us also your talent and your experience later on as you moderate the discussion after the input. We hope that you will all be enriched by this session on mental health program in school, suggested scope, support system, and structure that we will have this afternoon. We greatly encourage you to share your feedback and questions in the chat box since they will very much contribute in the discussion. And if you find these seminars enriching and enjoyable, please share the information to your friends and colleagues too, so that many more people will benefit from the sessions. I also invite you to like and follow our Facebook page so that you get to be updated regarding our other seminar offerings and other activities of Don Bosco Press. Muli, maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat at pagpalain tayo ng buong may kapal. It is also my honor to introduce to you our speaker this afternoon. Dr. Emmanuel V. Hernani, or Dr. Tata, as he is fondly called, is a clinical and counseling psychologist. He is a consultant and practitioner as well as an educator and researcher. He completed his master's degree in psychology from the University of San Carlos in Cebu City and his doctorate major in clinical psychology from Silliman University. He has been a faculty member of the University of San Carlos Psychology Department and the Cebu Institute of Technology University. Currently, he is the chair of Cebu Normal University's Research Ethics Committee. He has also served CNU in various capacities in the past, among them as chair of the Psychology Department, chair of the Social Science Department, dean of Student Affairs, and as university counselor. Dr. Tata is also involved in consultancy and is currently connected as consultant and trainer to Legal Alternative for Women Center Incorporated, Metropolitan Matrimonial Tribunal of the Catholic Church, and the Cebu City Police Office Wellness Center, among others. He is also the Executive Director of Psychosomatherapy's Clinic Center for Wellbeing, and his other trainings and expertise includes his being a certified anger management facilitator by the Anderson and Anderson Consulting USA and as career service executive certified trainer for public service ethics. With all these qualifications and the many other experiences of Dr. Tata, I believe that we are all in good hands this afternoon. Friends, let us welcome Dr. Emmanuel Hernani all the way from Cebu City. Daghang salamat, Doc Tata. So we hope that Doc Tata gets to connect.
Afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yeah, good afternoon, Doc.
Okay. Good afternoon. Thank you, brother, for that such a wonderful introduction. Good
Yeah,
afternoon,
thank you.
afternoon, fellow educators. So hope that I can give you a good glimpse of mental health program. And if you don't have one, then I hope this to be a sort of a jump start point, where you can introduce a mental health program aside from having a good guidance program. The good brother asked you before we started with this session and how you are feeling today, and some were happy and some were excited and some also were sad. So I think it's a good point that brother suggested that you should stay with the feeling. And I think that's the basic idea of why we are here today, because we are talking about mental health. And one of the facets of mental health is recognition of our experiences, our feelings, our emotions, and our cognition. And with the idea that one should stay with the feeling, it is a fact that you recognize your experience or your awareness at that particular moment. And hopefully, with recognition, you can do something about it. So, actually, when we say diversion, avoidance, that is actually not a good idea to cope with a feeling. So stay with the feeling, and hopefully, it will dissipate, or you can address that later on, or as you go along with this process of our discussion. And for those who are happy and excited, you may stay with the feeling still, but as you see and experience, a feeling is a fleeting emotion. That's why it is called emotion, because it's an energy in motion. So we can actually fluctuate from one feeling to another, and that's another component of mental health, and that is what we call flexibility. So before I'll present to you my slides, I would like to give a background of myself. I'm a Gestalt therapist, so that's why I'm a very should I say respectful of emotions, because one of the components of Gestalt is the respect of emotion. Aside from the recognition of emotion, cognition, and the other facets of a person, Gestalt is a German term for wholeness, for configuration. So that's why we do um, intervene with problems with cognition, with emotion, with relationship, and also with the situation. So that's why good. I think it is a should I say an opportunity for me to share to you my way of thinking on how to implement or how to make a mental health program holistically. So meaning using should I say the holistic paradigm of a good school program. So, but before we start, I would like to um, ask Ace, can you help me? Because I would want to know the demographics of our attendees for today, our fellow educators, so that I can have a good background of where can I um, diverge or converge my ideas based on the presentation given to a specific points of interest. Um, with of course to your professional degree, for to your attainment, to your school setting. So, um, Ace, can you help me with the poll, please, with the questions? Okay, so this is the first question. I would want to know if what school are you from? Are you from a sectarian school, a non-sectarian school, or from a public school? Okay, so far, so about 49% is coming from the private sectarian, and there are around, okay, so 27, 43% from the private non-sectarian school. So 50% private sectarian, and then we have four from the public school. So all in all, I think we have a good dispersal of attendees, no, from private sectarian and private non-sectarian. Okay, so can we proceed with the next poll questions, please? Ace? So this is actually the locale. So where is your school located? Because when we do our program, we should be familiar with the locale of our school so that we can link and network and at the same time collaborate better with the other external environments. So 43% they are from the city, and then we have one from a fourth class municipality, and also from the third class municipality. So I think majority comes um, from a school where located in the city. Okay. Okay. What can we proceed with the next poll, please? Ace. Okay. So um, we are now talking about external problem. So when you say external problem, this could be environmental related, or your area is disaster prone, or there are many other social, political problems there. Okay, so I can see it that it's more of a no rather than a yes. So meaning your school, majority of our attendees are coming from a school um, where the place is not disaster prone, or there's no conflict. So only 30% comes from a disaster prone area. Okay, so we'll proceed with the next poll. Poll next. I'm sorry. Okay. Okay. So this is related to the uh, previous question, but this time it's more on the social, political, social, environmental concern. So the answer is no. So only two answer yes. So the answer, its majority is from a conflict-free area. Okay, next poll please. Next poll. Okay. Okay. Okay, as I can see it, so the average is 100 to 299 or 100 to 300 students, more or less. So, and then there are actually also um, educators that are coming from a big school of more than 1,000 students. Okay, so 45% of our attendees um, are between 100 to 299 students, student population. Okay, so 30, yeah, so 45% um, of our participants are from 100 to 299 or 300 students. So that's by approximation. Okay, so do we still have another question, like a set of questions, Ace? Of Okay, this one is I think this is more about your designation. Okay, so we have guidance counselors. We also have guidance specialists or support. We also have school principal, administrator. We have a good number of educators coming from the high school level or the senior high school level. Okay, so we have four guidance counselors with us today and one PTA representative. Okay, so it's a good number actually. Oh, okay, so we have one from the. Okay, so I think we will now close the poll. Okay. Okay, so as I said, I'll be using the demographics, as a point of our discussion on the different points that I'll be discussing through my slides. Okay, so first I'll discuss about the different psychosocial problems that we have. So we can divide our psychosocial problems into two: the school community milieu or the environmental milieu, and the other one is the personal family milieu. So we can actually subdivide the other milieu into family and personal or individual milieu. But let's start first with the school community milieu. So as you can see, there are many problems that our schools are now encountering. Aside from bullying, which is actually pervasive, we also have now cyberbullying, which bullying that is done online. And that's a special area actually of concern. And then aside from that, we also have sexual harassment. But take note, when you say sexual harassment, this is not between student to student, but rather teacher to student, or a personnel, a trainer, an educator, a administrator to a student. So this is what we call sexual harassment. Aside from that, this is for the school actually, and then we have academic problems, and then we have actually varying academic problems from learning disability to speech to reading problem. We also have problems with truancy and tardiness, and which is very much related to behavioral problems. And I think you would agree with me that when you say behavioral problems, this is more about conduct. So we have in psychology we have what they call conduct disorder, and then the other one, which is more trending than conduct disorder, the ADHD, no, attention deficit, and disorder. No, so aside from that, we also have issues on friends, no, of the clique or peer issues, no, with the student. And then for the community, we have community crime. So of course, I think we all know that drugs is a problem in our community. Aside from that, that's why I asked a while ago if we have problems with socio-political conflicts, because this is happening also in other areas, especially in the southern part of our country in Mindanao. And then we have health crisis. Of course, this is we are now in a new normal because of a health crisis. Because in fact, because of this health crisis, we are migrating our educational and other business uh, onto the online platform. And then we also have social media issues, like for example, um, fake news, other things that you can see on Facebook, on Google, on Twitter. No, so this is what we call social media problems. And then we also have eco anxiety. No, so this is related to climate problem. Like for example, if even if you are just listening to the news, and then uh, for example, a young child would see on TV different news about this and that disaster, and then it could create an anxiety on the said student. Then that is actually, we can say that it's a part of eco anxiety. Or hearing that the other neighborhood has been experiencing or was there was a landslide, and then there was something going on in that particular neighborhood in the other area, and then it can invoke some problems of some sort. Then that is actually, we call that eco anxiety. So this is these are actually challenges, you know, as a mental professionals. These are our actually our challenges right now. So let's proceed to the next slide. So we are now into the milieu, the personal, individual, family milieu. So as you can see, even if the child has no problem, but the family is in crisis, then we can say that it can affect the child. So later on, as you can with our program, hopefully that we can address this with our mental health program in school. So aside from medical illness in the family, so we can also say that mental illness of a family member, like for example of a mother or a father, can also affect our student. And aside from that, common problem, which is sibling rivalry or favoritism, you know, wherein one parent would favor the other child, or when a new child is coming. You know, for example, when the mother just gave birth to another child, and then um, the youngest one has been the youngest for quite a time, and then the child was dislodged because of the birth of a new child, then that could create a problem, a change of behavior or attitude to the child. And then rampant problem, child abuse and neglect. So this child abuse, when we say child abuse, it comes in many forms. It can be physical abuse. It can be psychological abuse, which is very much related to emotional abuse. And then we also have um, neglect. When you say neglect, it's a form of deprivation or inadequate nurturance of support. When you say support, emotional, psychological support to the child, aside from economic support. And then very much related to child abuse and neglect is domestic violence. So when you say domestic violence, this is the violence happening at home. Um, when we say domestic violence, sometimes they call this VAUSI, violence against women and children. So when you say domestic violence, it is pertinent to women, but it can also be applied to a to a child. So basically, It would involve psychological abuse, verbal abuse, aside from physical. There's also what we call economic deprivation. So that's why a partner can file a economic abuse to the court, because this is also a form of domestic violence. And then we also have loss and grief. So grieving can also affect our child, our student, and it can change the behavior of a student. And that's why sometimes educators, a teacher, would sometimes misconstrue it as a form of depression. So, but at times it's actually just an experiencing of loss or grief. And then we also have poverty. So poverty is actually a problem. When we say poverty, economic problem, but it is more than that. It's it's a feeling that um, the child is experiencing inadequacy because the parents cannot really provide for his or her needs. And then we also have addiction, and say substance addiction, and this is very much related to internet addiction. And then we also have depression, PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. We also have anxiety, and then neurodevelopmental issues. We also have problems with obesity and malnutrition, and also with sedentary behaviors. So that's also a problem, especially now that we are confined at home, and because we are confined at home, and some of us have limited space to move around, so we become sedentary, and this is actually a problem. And not only for adults but also for children, because because inactivity would contribute to obesity, and aside from that, other forms of behavior. So this is actually connected, the physical and the mental dimension. So later on, we will be discussing, when we will discuss the program, I will try to point this out, that we also need physical activities aside from mental activities as well. And then for those who are in the high school level, I think one of the problems is identity crisis, and some would say this is called gender identity crisis. Um, um, some students would come to the guidance office because of the fact that they would they do not know their person. You know, they have some sort of identity crisis, that they would want to know who they are and what the purpose of their life. And then sometimes this would evolve into something else. You know, it can evolve into a form of depression, and sometimes it would also um, contribute to conduct problem, and sometimes this would also contribute to truancy, absenteeism, and in also with aggressiveness in with to other classmates. So this is actually not just a simple case of identity problem. No? So this is not a simple crisis. It's a crisis that can escalate to other problems, just like the other cases or the other problems that I have mentioned here. And then I also wrote here suicide because of the fact that um, I think there was a survey on the incidence and epidemiology of suicide, and I think that was done, I think, 2 years ago. And then I was actually surprised to see that the youngest victim of suicide was around, I think, 9 years old. So if that particular child was 9 at the time, then the child was still in grade 4. You know, so elementary student. So so our problem right now is not just suicidal ideation, meaning the person would think about suicide, will have a suicidal thoughts, or other forms of suicidal behavior, like for example, excoriation, hurting of oneself, self harm, like for example, doing nasty things on his or her arms or on his legs. No, so that is actually another form of self harm, which is very much related to suicide. and that is common also among our students today. No, so as you can see, we have lots of problems. So I think it's high time for us actually to expand our program, no, on mental health. Okay. Um, the previous slides talk about personal issues and societal problems, but this time we'll be talking about organizational issues. Um, Actually, there are schools that are disengaged to the community, meaning they are somewhat aloof. No, they are indifferent, uh, meaning they see themselves as an exclusive entity within a community. So this is actually a problem when we do a mental health program, because we need to connect with the community. So when you say community, it's the local government unit, and aside from that, the entities of that particular community, like for example, NGOs, civic groups, law enforcements. So we can actually tap these persons later, or these agencies or entity later, to help us with our program. And then another issue that I see is mental health agenda has no place in school policy. And this is actually the traditional mindset of some schools. If they would know that a student has a mental problem, then chances are they would refer that student to another school, or they would opt out that student from the program. And that is very sad, because it really happened. And for one, have some engagement with this kind of problem before. And then assumption that school administrations must know every concern. So this is another problem which I encountered before, because some administrators rather, principals would want to know what is happening with that particular student, the detail, the problem. And that's confidential actually. And this is actually, there are laws that governs and protect clients, patients, and students. So that's why this is actually a concern. So for those who are here, yung mga guidance counselors, I think you should know this, that there are things that you should not divulge to others, even to your administrators or to the school. So especially the salient detail, of a case. Okay, next one is not making psychosocial health needs as a priority. So there are actually schools, that do not have psychological tests, and they don't invest in counselors, and they don't give incentives. They don't want their counselors or other personnel to attend programs or training programs or professional development programs or conferences. So this is actually another problem. And then we also have schools that are, should I say, exploiting exigency. So meaning, because it's an exigency of service, then an administrator would rather not hire, but instead give a multitask, to a particular teacher. So a teacher would become a counselor at the same time, or a disciplinarian would become a guidance counselor at the same time, which is not actually good. So that this is another problem. And then we also have no proper screening of teaching and support personnel. Okay, so um, a good mental health program should focus on mental health and not on mental illness. And the personnel in a school is a contributor to the successful mental health program of the area, or of the community, of the school community. But sad to say, there are actually teachers who have problems, and they cannot actually at times compartmentalize or control their person, that they can carry their problems to school, their domestic problems to school, and they would at times use the student as their scapegoats or as their fall guys, as their punching bags. So this is actually a problem. But we can address this, by focusing on what should be done first before, with regards to your hiring. And then capacity building is only for those who would deal directly with the students. So um, as I said, professional programs should be for the whole community, not only for specific groups. And and in fact, a good program to start with is a sort of a learning program or a learning saloon wherein teachers to different personnel from the particular school would gather together, and then there will be echoing of what the teacher or the counselor learned, from a seminar. So this is actually another form of capacity building. And then psychosocial problems are verboten, taboos. So there are actually persons who are not comfortable talking about mental illness or psychological distress. And in fact, when a student would start to discuss his or her problem, then the teacher would sometimes say, just go to the guidance office, or it's nothing. So, and more so if this is actually incidental to a teacher, but what if this is the personality of the school, in relation to the number two concern, mental health agenda has no place in school policy, then that this would be a problem. And then we also have budgetary constraints. So when you say budgetary constraints, we have problems with budget. So these are some of the problems or issues to deal with. Okay, so this is the definition of mental health, and this is taken from WHO. So actually, when you say mental health, it's more about um, dealing with the individual, to have to so that the individual can fulfill his or her abilities or potential, and when work productively as a person. So as you can see there, work productively, because mental health is not only for students or for children, but also for adults as well. So it's not only for students, but also for personnel, and for the teachers specifically. Okay, so if you have an existing guidance program, then that's better, because you can jumpstart your mental health program. You can expand your mental health, your guidance and counseling program, so that you can address to the other needs, of a person, like for example, the mental health. So as you can see, the traditional notion of a guidance counselor is a counselor is a person who would do counseling, psychological testing, orientation, research, and conduct of other psychological activities. But there are actually many things that one can do. A counselor can expand, with the help of the teachers and the administrators, expand the business of the guidance and counseling office to include other services as well, so that you can meet the agenda of a mental health program. Okay, so as you can see, um, when you say mental health facility vis-a-vis guidance and counseling office, these two entities have actually similar services to offer: assessment, counseling and psychotherapy, training and development, referral linkages, advocacy, and even psychiatric interventions. But maybe you would ask me, why um, why did you include psychiatric intervention in your slide? Mental health facility, they have psychiatrists or they have clinical psychologists, so they can readily give a psychiatric or clinical intervention. What about guidance and counseling office? So they don't have one. So the business there is to use referral. So a good referral network is a good intervention program also. So that's why you have to list down all your referees, your networks, and then so that you can have an easy access, especially during crisis situation. So this is actually another area wherein we can that we should also expand, not to in view of our agenda on mental health program. Okay, so this is another milieu or another overview between guidance and counseling office and mental health program. So when you say mental health program, this is intended for the whole organization. No, so the problem with guidance and counseling is it's focused only for students. But when we do now, when we change our, or when we shift our paradigm now from guidance and counseling to mental health, then this is the time that we should include the other personnel as well. So meaning teachers, the non-teaching personnel, and the other people there in the community, and then management. Okay, so management, so other mental health professionals, meaning you could add there a retainer psychologist, a clinical psychologist, a psychiatrist, no? So aside for the guidance counselor, health coverage. Okay, so the traditional notion for guidance and counseling is that it only covers mental health, adjustment problem, um, other mild or to moderate psychological distress or psychological crisis. Well, when we say mental health program, it would cover all. So, so to address this, the school should, and I think I would recommend to let your counselors undergo training, further trainings, or perhaps further schooling. And then the focal. Now, when you say focal, it's the fulcrum of the program. So in the case of mental health program, it's the human resource department. But if it's guidance and guidance office, guidance and counseling, then it's the guidance office. So if you have an existing guidance office, then um, your guidance office should work side by side with your human resource department. So that you would have an effective guidance program and also a mental health program for your personnel. Okay, both of these program, no, these are actually mandated by law, no. So Mental Health Act and then a Guidance Counseling Act. But the problem is with its current issue, mental health program is ambiguous, while guidance and counseling program is already established. So that's why, so for those schools that already have already a guidance program, then so you are a better advantage than those who do not have a structured, a formal and ready guidance and counseling program, because you would have to start from the scratch when you do or transform your wellness program into a mental health program. Okay, so this is the scope. No, scope is school wide, and this would include even the support staff and external and social environment. So as I mentioned a while ago, you should include the social environment. So meaning the local government units, the other entities there in your area. So I'll discuss this later. Um, okay, support system. This is very much related to the scope. So it would not only involve, take note, I'm talking about mental health program. So this would not only involve the students, the parents and teachers, the school administrators, but also the other entities, as I said, the community organizations, local government units, government agencies, NGOs. So you can actually utilize this to help you run an effective mental health program. So when you say support system, this is actually the social system, no, social environmental system, or meaning the the um, the social coverage of your school. And then the structure. So um, structure is contextual, and meaning your structure would depend really on what type of mental health program should you implement in your school. So because when you say mental health program, it should be um, in context to your organization's mission and vision, because there are actually Um, like for instance, there are actually schools that prohibit certain types of mental health programs. Like for one, um, there are schools, like for example, in other countries, they offer yoga as a form of physical and mental health program. But there are actually schools who frown upon yoga because they say that it's a form of religion, and so that's why they would discourage yoga and meditation. So they call it by other names, no, because of the fact that they don't. It runs against their mandate, no. So that's why you should check and review your mission, vision, goals, and other principles, school principles before you would make your mental health program, and then see to it that your mental health program is evidence based. So meaning there are actually modalities, psychological modalities now that are evidence based. But even if it's evidence based, then you should also check if it's culturally appropriate. So because there are actually, I would say that there are many psychological entities right now or psychological models, but sadly this cannot be applied to all contexts. So you have to contextualize it to your needs, to your culture, to your orientation, and to your mission vision your school. And then we should also have a sense um, of social responsibility by noting on human rights and gender sensitivity issue. And this is another problem actually, because there are actually schools that has problem with gender orientation. So it's another facet of concern. So that's why I would go again to the point of reviewing your mission visions to check if this particular program that you're going to adapt to your school, though thinking that this is effective, but this would run contrary to your mission vision or to your goals or to your principles, then this would become a problem later. Okay. No, so when you say mental health program, no, this has actually some components. No, so health investment, of course, you should invest on the health of your personnel, but on not only in your personnel but also on your student. So yeah, it needs money actually. So a program cannot run without money, but there are actually programs that do run without adequate financial support. It's because they have a good networking and collaboration with other entities. And we also have health promotions. So when you say health promotions, advocacy, community mental health, mental health education, no, mental health training. So this is actually what they call health promotions. And nowadays, we are now more relying on the social media, and there are actually many, no, as I say, many educational materials that you can see. So infographics about this and that, mental health issues. No, but before you would adopt, a certain infographics or info bulletin, make sure that it is, as I said, evidence based. So check the source, evidence based and other things, or if it's appropriate to the context of your school or to your organization. And then another mental health components is the health incentives. So when you say health incentives, your organization for sure already have um, has programs like, for example, intramurals, health fest, or also you also give insurance. Then you can actually expand this, by giving other health incentives like perks or benefits. Like, for example, this is actually the practice of some BPOs now. So they would give incentives to their employees, and after that, the employees can do their thing. So they call that stress management or mental hygiene. But sad to say, some of their activities are not really healthy. It may be mentally healthy, but not say physically healthy to some. Okay, health contingencies. So when you say health contingencies, so we should check also. That's why in our questions we ask about climate problem or problems with conflict, because we should also have some sort of contingency programs for this. So, like for instance, no, what is happening now with the pandemic, most of our schools are not ready, or if not all, are not ready to face the new normal. So that's why we are adjusting to the new normal. And sad to say, I would say that there is no contingency program, of some of on how to address if there will be a lockdown, a close down, or a quarantine, or isolation. So actually, this is that this that the time now is a wake up call for us, not to make some contingency health contingencies rather, and then health resources. No, so one of the components of a mental health program is the health resources. So aside from guidance counselors, which is the primary health resource of a school, we also have our nurses, our dentists, our school doctor. So we can also utilize them aside from the teachers, and also from volunteers, or from our networks of NGOs, from other organizations. We can also utilize this. You have to list down all of these entities, so that when you make your program, you would know where you would um, um, put these entities, in your program. For example, now we can connect health promotions with health resources. So with regards to advocacy, there are actually many NGOs who would give trainings for free. And there are actually other organizations that can give mental health assessment for free. And there are other organizations who can provide details about some legal mandates, like, for example, child abuse, domestic violence. And this can actually a good resource, for not only for your students, but also for your teachers and for personnel. So when you say health resources, it can be the internal um, resources, or it can also be external resources, your linkages. Okay. So these are some of the comments that I have mentioned a while ago. So there are effective health programs that run without sizable budget. As I said, even if there is no budget, there are actually schools or other programs that run without good budget. It's because they have a good linkages. They have good collaboration with the other external support. And then there are health programs that are mediocre despite of having exhaustive budgets. So these programs have poor planning and coordination with stakeholders. So meaning they just make a program for the heck of making one program, but they don't consult the parents, the teachers, and the community, or even the students. So they just make it because it's part of the accreditation. It's part of the promotion. So they would just make a program out of a copy paste, from another program. So you would put your program to waste if you are doing that. So do assessment, do evaluation. And then there are org perks, incentives, and other wasted to nothing. The monetary incentives are spent on other activities. Like, for example, you have an existing program. The money is intended for mental health program, but what you're doing is you are just asking your teachers, to join a Zumba activity. So, of course, it's a fun-filled activity. At the same time, it's recreational and leisure, and it's also a physically inclined activity. But the problem there, so if it's a mental health program, then you you better look for an activity that has physical and at the same time mental components. And mental health is often sidelined by organization because of misconceptions. Okay, so as I said, this is related to my previous discussion on an issue with regards to mental health. So it's a taboo. There are lots of misconception. So to address this is to give mental health awareness, mental health orientations to the community. And then attention must be given to preventive measures and mental health promotions. So when you say mental health programs, we would go directly to the our mind would go directly to the point of mental illness. But actually, when you say mental health program, this has other facets as well, and this is prevention and remediation, not only intervention. Also, stages in program development. No, so um, in these slides, you can see their outsourced team and own personnel. No? So we have actually disadvantages and advantages, no, when we outsource someone, no, an expert, no, to make our program for our school. No? Well, on the other hand, we can also tap our resources, internal resources, to make one. So with the outsourced team, of course, there's objectivity, it's formal, and then dispensable, meaning after the program ends, after the project ends, no, so they will be, they are gone. And then less taxing on the part of the school, of course, no, so because of the fact that you can do your affair, because you won't focus on other things. And then the external or outsourced team can also they can dig deeper into the issue, so fact finding, because they're not afraid of being of negative reactions or responses, from the community. And then they are accountable to the contract, so if they won't satisfy your needs based on the contract, then you can sue them, or so that's why they would opt to finish the program. But the problem is it's an additional expense, and then your community might not embrace the idea that some external team would come and interview them, so they would become disdainful or indifferent to them. And then paid responsibility, so meaning they would their actions are based on the contract, so what is not there, what is not written, so they might not do it. And then values, orientation, and principles might run contrary to the organization. So you better check first, the orientation of your outsourced team. So meaning orientation, the values, the orientation, professional integrity of the team, or the consultant. And then with regards to your own personal, we can actually there are actually, as I said, advantages, like for example, can be called anytime for conference or update, because they are in your school, so you can invite them without asking them to call, or without calling them that they would be here tomorrow, because they are there in your school. You can tap them anytime you like. And then there's also a sense of responsibility and accountability, because since this is my school and I'm part of it, then I should be responsible and accountable. So that's why I should make this program workable. No, and then they are also familiar with the system. But the problem with familiarity with the system is their reflexivity might become too subjective, that they would include their biases onto the outputs of their program. No, and also there might be some problems with confidentiality and leakages, of what was discussed, or what was mentioned by some of the respondents. And then the community might take it lightly. So meaning, they just come from our school. Teacher so and so is like this. She is funny, and I don't take this program seriously. No, so this is actually some of the problems. Okay. Okay. So how to develop a mental health program? So basically, these slides just I think the highlight of this slide is, first you have to assess the needs of the population. So do not make a program for the heck of making a mental health program. No, so you should assess the needs of the population, meaning assess the needs of the students, assess the needs of the teachers, the personnel, and also the community. So meaning, try to observe the locale and try to know what are the resources that I can use, from the vantage of a school to the community. So as I said, there are many resources in the community that you can tap to make your program workable and effective. And then after that, you you gather evidences, consult with other personnel, do some best practice observation, go to other schools and observe what they're doing if they already have one. And then after that, you can read, you go to the library, scan on some mental health programs that are already existing. I'll tell you, there are already mental health programs in school, that has been existing way back in the 90s. And in fact, WHO um, formulated a manual for mental health program in school way back in 1994. So you can check that out in the internet. And then you should also review your mission, visions, and principles. As I said, your program might run contrary to your mission and vision. So that you won't have any hassle, because there might be some quarters in your school who might oppose, or who would not participate because this runs against their principles. Then it will become a problem later. So see to it there's a it should jive, with your principles and values in school. And then you should confer with collaborators, as I said. So collaborators, meaning external consultants, experts from other fields, or from other schools, or from other community. So collaborate and confer, and then try out your program first. No, so we say make time frames. So usually a program can have an evaluation phase for about 3 years to 5 years. So that's a short-term goal. So make your program also smart, specific, measurable, attainable at the same time. And then identify the roles of the personals there. So what can the teacher do to help you with this program? The NGOs, who are these NGOs, and what can they do? What about the PTA? So these are actually things that you can use. Actually, you can utilize these resources, and you have to include them in the program. So their roles, and then at the same time their responsibilities as well. And then disseminate the project. So when you disseminate the project, you introduce the project to the whole community, not only to the school but also to the community outside of the school, so that they would know that you have this particular program. So that they would have a sort of understanding and awareness that um, um, why this particular school is doing this. So they might be taken by surprise, and then there are policy change. For example, on schedules, instead of Friday being the physical activity day, then they change into something, and then the community might be surprised that there are people who would come in and out from that particular community whom they did not know. Okay, so when you introduce the program to the community, then it can generate actually social political support. So because they already have some awareness of this particular program, then they might join you in and then support your program. And then promotion, we also have, as I said, introduce your program to the school and to the community and to the existing entities there in the community. And then thereafter, you should conduct an evaluation. So 3 to 5 years, and after that, conduct an evaluation, and on the different facets of your program. So not only to the students, to the teachers, to the personnel, but also to the program itself. Like for example, activity evaluation. So aside from the program evaluation, there should be activity evaluation per conduct of such activity. Okay. This is the framework of mental health program. So prevention, remediation, and intervention. Ace, can you help me with the poll? The remaining poll. Okay, so does your school have existing mental health program? So yung school niyo may existing mental health program ba or wala? Okay. So only for students, no? So walang mental health program for school personnel. So I can say that most of us here right now have traditional, let us say, you're more focused on the guidance and counseling program, no, so not on the mental health program. Okay, so next poll, please. Does your school have existing functional guidance and counseling officer headed by a guidance counselor? Okay, so a good number has an existing guidance office that is headed by a licensed guidance counselor. So that's a good. Okay, so we have a good number. 60%, 62%, yes, and then no, meaning they don't have a guidance and counseling office, or if they have, then this is not headed by a licensed guidance counselor. So about 20% of the 20, no, so about 20 respondents or 38%. Okay, next please. Okay, no, so it's a good thing. So okay, so maganda, no? So we have an existing link or network, no? So with that we can tap, readily tap whenever we need their expertise or their advocacies. So maganda to because about 68%, no, uh, already have a functional network or linkages with NGOs and the local government units. Okay, so next please. So so meaning masyadong active yung PTA niyo in connection with your student, teachers, administrators that the PTA can actually voice out their concerns and problems, and they can readily assert. No, so who for those who do not have an active PTA administrator student collaboration, then I think you should work on this because an effective mental health program should have an active collaborations between stakeholders, especially the parents. So okay, no, so let's close this poll now. Okay, so we'll now be talking about the framework of mental health. So that's why I'm asking if you have an existing program, and if your guidance and counseling office, if you have, and then if it's run by a licensed guidance counselor, because you can reframe your guidance and counseling office, add additional personnel, and then to make it more community-wide. No, so meaning it would anchor on the framework of mental health program. So the mental health program anchors on three. No, so three facets. No, these are the prevention, remediation, and intervention. So when you say prevention, no, so if you're talking about mental wellness, mental health, then you are on the prevention side. No, so advocacy, orientation, community consultation. No, these are actually one of the preventive programs that you can do. No, like for example, talking about human rights, not talking about gender issues, talking about resiliency. No, so these are actually things that you can do to enhance, no, to make a preventive program. Aside from that, you can also have parenting skills, no, and also healthy lifestyle. These are what we call health promotions. No, so these are what we call health promotions in the sense that it would promote health. So when you promote health, you are on the preventive side. No, so you're not dealing with mental illness or mental crisis, but you are on the preventive side, so that the community, the students, and the stakeholders won't have a problem. No, so but of course, this is just a ideal setup, of course. So that's why um, the next slide, no, we'll go for remediation. No, itong remediation is the this would for example, problems with adjustment, no, problems with crisis situation, no, not readily severe, no, or yung problema ng student is still on the crisis side, no, wala pang disorder, wala pang illness, then you can opt to do some forms of remediation. No, so actually the teachers can also help you with this. No, yung kanina, no, yung lahat ng community members, no, can help with the prevention or the promotion. But sa remediation, no, hindi na lahat yung makasali. Though you can still tap the community, but the focus here is on how to remediate, no? So give some sort of a healing balm, no, sa no, or first aid, no, sa problem ng students or ng personnel. No, so focus dito is yung psychoeducation strategies, no. Meron ding counseling, merong referral, and you can also do some screening and assessment. But this time, screening is more operational than assessment, because you're going to screen if there are actually students who have problems, no, within the classroom, for example, no. So the absenteeism of that particular classroom is very high. Many truant students, no, many students with behavioral problems. Then you can give a screening test. No, the counselor can give a screening test to check if there are actually candidates for further treatment, and that is intervention. Well, you can also teachers can also do what they call therapeutic classroom management. No, so I've been giving these workshops to the different schools also. So it's a form of a management program wherein the focus is the teacher and not the student. No, so yung focus ng therapeutic school actually is hindi yung mga students, but rather yung teachers or yung personnel. No, so may shift yung focus. No, and then as I said, no, supportive communication. No? So when you say supportive communication, this is not actually counseling, no, but rather you would just listen to the person, no, with the hope that the person can understand his or her problems later, and then he can do some sort of intervention on himself. No, so this is supportive. The next slide is on intervention. No, so hindi na siya supportive communication if you're talking about talk therapy or talk intervention, but it would not come now to counseling and therapy. No, and then there's also referral. No, so as I said, if you don't have qualified personnel, then you can use referral, no, as another program. No, so you strengthen your referral, and then yung may mga issues na iba na may ano talaga, no, yung problems with psycholegal. No, so for example, child abuse. No, it's not only PTSD, but which is psychological, but there's also a psycholegal issue there, which is RA 7610. Or if there's drug related, no, even if you are dealing with a young child of about grade 3, and then the parents are into drugs, then that might involve, no, the drug related. It's a drug related case actually. So the social worker or the social welfare office might intervene and take away the child. And so as a counselor, as a teacher, then you have also you should also do your part, no, by giving your assessment about that particular student or about that particular family. No, so and then we also have rehabilitation. No, so this time it's rehabilitation. So rehabilitation, if you are running a school, then rehabilitation should go with referral. No, so meaning your referral should also have a list of rehabilitation centers or clinics wherein your student or the parents or the family can go. No, so as I said, referral is a good resource actually, and then screening and assessment. So kaya nga you should invest, no, on a number of psychological tests so that you can have a good psychological assessment program. No, Because with psychological assessment, then you can create an effective program for your community. Okay, no? So this is another approach, no? So yung kanina, ipinakita ko yung framework. Ngayon, this is tiered approach. Pareho lang talaga yung ano, yung characteristic ng tiered approach at saka yung framework approach, no? So tier 1 more on prevention, and then tier 2 more on remediation, and then tier 3 is more on prevention. No? So, and then, basically, yung lahat ng, the things that I've mentioned to you, no, anchors in these principles of health. No? Since this is reflective of the ideals of health. Now, health should be holistic. No? A person should be grounded, a person should be involved, a person should be embodied, no? A person should be balanced, or some sort of have a balance, and then the engagement should be contactful, and then the person should be attuned, authentic, and flexible. So we can translate this into a form of a program. So when you say mental health program, it should have a component of holistic. So as I said a while ago, when you say holistic, you should not only deal with mental illness, but also with mental health or mental wellness. And then focus not only on the cognitive, because we are too cerebral. That's why we focus our subjects on the 3 R's: the reading, writing, and arithmetic. But we should also focus on the non-academic things, or the other side of the life of a student. Like for example, the creative side, the artistic side, and also the physical. No, not only the cognitive, but also the emotional and the other facets of a person or of a child. No, so anchor your program on this, and then involve not only the students but also the parents and also the personnel, no, even the gardeners, no, and the guards should know about mental health promotions. They should have You should know how to do some supportive communication, no, so you should know how to effectively or healthily listen, no, because who knows, a student might come and talk to your guard, no, or to your gardener, and then the student would talk about his or her problems, and then so if the gardener has some supportive communication ability, then he or she can help the student. And then grounded, meaning you should be grounded on reality, no. So at the same time, you say grounded on reality, no. So focus on the specifics and the need, no. So don't make a program that is highfalutin based on what you read on the internet or on the other literatures, but it's not needed at that particular time in your school, no. So ground yourself with the reality of your school, and then make everyone involved. So as I said, no, the security guards, the other personnels, no, the drivers, no, they should be involved with the program. And then embodied, no, so meaning embodied, you should walk the talk, and then you should experience the walk and talk in your body, no. So model it, no, meaning if you are talking about a program that is on healthy lifestyle, then you should embody a healthy lifestyle, no. So there should be no smoking policy. Aside from that, no, other things, no, that are what you call unhealthy, no, to the community, no. So embodied, and then balance, no. So when you say balanced, work, and there should also be leisure, recreation, and other things, no. So this can also be given to the students, no, not only focusing more on the academics but also on the other side, no, the recreational and the leisure side, no, of life. And then engage and contactful, no. So meaning the engagement should be professional, and at the same time, when you say engage, you should be assertive, no, in doing this program. So kaya kanina when I said familiarity, no, so others might take this lightly because one of the proponents of the program is a teacher who knows whom they know to be to be carefree, no. So then they would take it seriously. But when you do this program, when you implement the program, make sure that it is engaged. So engage meaning there's be assertion of what should be done to make the program effective, and then attune. So meaning attune. So meaning you should have synchronicity. So meaning your mindset, the frequency of the teachers and the administrator should be one. In sync with each other. So that it can become a harmonious program. So walang away. So kasi if there is be disharmony, then may away, then the students can sense that there's a problem between the teacher and the administrator, then that would create a problem later. And then when I say authentic, so that's why embodiment and authenticity comes side by side, because of the fact that when you embodied what you are experiencing or saying, then that could become a part of you, and then it would become a part of your reality. No, so there should be authenticity and the embodiment of your program, and then flexibility. So when you say flexibility, it should be flexible also. So take note, some of these things that I've mentioned are only just guidelines. Now these are not arbitrary, compulsory sort of things. So make your program somewhat flexible, but at the same time engaging and contactful. I think this is my last slide, and this would be the conclusion part, or the concluding part of my presentation. And I think I'm ready now for question and answer.
So, we have a lot of viewers, no, from all over the Philippines. So, may mga galing tayo sa Batangas, Bulacan, Bataan, Butuan, Cebu, kung saan si Doc ngayon, Davao. We have actually one from Seattle, Washington.
Yeah.
So,
Sorry.
yeah. So, welcome to our Q&A. Post your question. Ako, mahirap hulihin to si Doc. So, ngayon nandito siya sa atin. Let's grab the opportunity to ask questions, no? And ako, my own takeaway for this webinar is the shifting of the guidance counseling into a mental health facility, no? So, parang nakuha ko sa talk mo, Doc, na it's more than just the guidance counselor who shall move to form a mental health program, diba? So, maganda. Nai-involve natin ang buong community ng school, hindi lang yung buong community ng school, kundi yung community, yung local government natin, yung mga NGOs, even the parents, no? So, it's a good thing na there's still a lot to improve. Sa amin na medyo may mga mental health program na. So, there's still a lot to improve because of your webinar. So, thank you for that, Doc. Siguro, let's look at the question. Yes, there's one question here, Doc, from Melody.
Yeah.
So, given the situation right now, online schooling, how can the guidance office be active or effective, no?
Okay.
Kasi iba yung face-to-face.
This is actually a good question, because this is grounded to the reality right now, no? So I think yung dapat emphasize natin is yung telehealth program. No, so telehealth program, this does not only involve counseling, therapy, no. So with telehealth, there are other dimensions of health that you can use, no, or you should utilize, no. So especially what we call health promotion, no. So yung mga infographics natin na makita natin sa social media, we can also utilize that one, no, as part of our guidance program. No, so include natin yan sa guidance program natin, but before natin i-include, no, may assessment muna. So meaning may recommendation. No, hindi lang natin na i-adapt natin agad-agad, and then makita natin later on na may problema siya. No, so and also, no, train the teachers and the counselors, no, on telepsychology or telecounseling. No, iba yung guidelines ng telecounseling at saka in-person counseling. No, so may maraming mga ngayon diyan sa internet, on online counseling, no, and I think you should be familiar with it, no, kasi yun ang gagamitin natin, no, while we're doing counseling online. So So maraming facets talaga nga na magamit natin, no, na nasa internet. And then aside from the fact, no, that we have limitations, no, so let us shift our guidance and counseling program, not to the parents, no, hindi na dapat natin i-focus natin yung mga bata, no. So yung focus natin ngayon is yung mga parents. So sila yung tuturuan natin kung anong gagawin nila, no, sa kung may mga problema ganito ganyan, no. So yung programs na ino-offer natin kanina, as what I've mentioned about health promotion, about counseling, about supportive communication, since parents cannot do counseling, no, yung magawa nila is yung supportive communication, no. So turuan natin sila to how effectively listen, and then how to screen, no, for example, problems, and then how to, for example, how to make a behavioral program for the children. Like for example, hindi lang lahat cognitive but also physical, you know. So I think the guidance office should also collaborate and coordinate with the other disciplines. Like for example, the physical education or physical educators, they can give you many things, no, about physical activities, no, and the other, actually other personnel as well, they can also give their part, no. So focus on the parents, and then psycho-educate the parents, and at the same time you give them some capabilities and capacities, to handle their children, while they are at home. Yun lang.
Okay, thank you for that, Doc. No, so thank you for emphasizing that now we do not only deal with the students lang, but we should also coach the parents, no, to on how to handle their child, lalo na work from home or online learning. Then, so yeah, so we have another question. Would you recommend behavior modification of intervention for students with behavior disorder?
Yan nga, yon ang basic na ng behavior disorder, no, yung behavior modification, yung tinatawag ko kanina therapeutic classroom management, no, that part yun ang behavior modification, no. For example, the traditional setup, the in-person setup in a classroom, no. So the teacher, no, who would be the focal point of a behavioral modification program, no, siya yung mag-implement, no. Like for example, my tasking, my role, my responsibilities, no, tinatawag yung therapeutic community ng iba, no. So you can actually utilize that behavior modification, no. But take note that a person has many facets, no. It's not only behavioral, so try to check also the cognitive and the behavior and the emotional side, or also the relational side. Baka yung behavior niya is caused by a family problem, no. So kaya nga, as I said, no, invest more on assessment or screening, no, kasi magamit mo yan to check really if it's really a behavioral problem. So baka nga corollary lang yung problema ng behavior, no? So kasi yung parents palaging nag-aaway, no, yung si papa wala diyan palaging lasing, no. So it could be the manifestations of a problem. So hindi yung bata yung client talaga, no, siya lang yung fall guy or scapegoat ng parents, no. So nag-manifest sa loob ng klase, no. So yung recommendation ko or yung answer ko dyan is do screening, assessment, and then though you can do behavioral modification, but also you can assess, no, or check the other facets, no, of the experience of the child.
Okay, so always start with needs assessment or assessment, no, of the condition of the child. Yun yung sabi ni Doc. And
Yes,
Doc, there's another question here. Can you give us some insight or recommendation regarding the suicidal issues in our youth today? Naku, dumadami po ito, lalo na this pandemic.
Actually, this is a sad reality right now, no. So yung issue ng suicide is increasing. Yung sister, marami talagang ngayon, no, resources, no. If you check the WHO website and also the UNESCO website, no, maraming resources doon that you can use, no, for your teachers and for your counselors, no. So maraming resources doon. While at the same time, yung issue ng suicide na is, as I said, no, hindi lang yung student yung focus natin, but also the family. Because most of the problems right now, no, are not school related, but rather family related. And if we can give some sort of prevention, it should come from the family. So that's why yung anchor ng ano natin, lalot natin yung kultura natin, no? We Filipinos are, should I say, collective, but at the same time family oriented. And I think we can utilize that as a form of strength to the student. So anchor our program on suicide on the family, no, on the family, and then secondary is yung peers, no, yung grupo, and then yung pangatlo is yung personal, no. So turuan natin yung mga bata ng resiliency, yung coping, no, while yung mga peers turuan natin sila ng indicators, no, or yung how to check, no, or how to help, no, supportive communication. Well, yung family, no, maraming maturo natin, for example, aside from supportive communication, no, indicators of suicide, no, yung mga risk-taking behaviors, no, it could be a sign of suicide, no, yung self-harm, mga ganun, no. So turuan din natin sila.
Okay, there's a lot that we can do, no? So there's a lot of challenges, but of course, laging meron tayong pwedeng gawin. So, kumusta kayo? Okay ba kayo? Nag-change na ba yung feelings nyo ng sadness into something hopeful dito sa presentation ni Doc? So, I hope so, positively. Nagkaroon ng linaw no? Nagbigay ng structure at mga pwede nating gawin at dapat nating gawin. So, next po, one of the students, this is from Mark Jofet. One of the students' challenges this school year is getting in touch with their classmates. A guidance program our school is targeting to implement is peer support group na mention nga ni Doc, no? Where students will be allowed to converse with each other and do activities facilitated by the guidance counselor that would allow them to move and interact. Do you think this is a good guidance program? If so, what other particular guidance programs would you like to recommend?
Actually, it's a good program.
Ayun.
Actually, no. So it's an activity facilitated by the guidance counselor, no. But the guidance counselor is not there all the time, no. So as I said, no, you shift the focus on the need of the parents, no. So you should include the parents, especially if it's young children, no, yung mga bata. Pero yung mga adolescents that though they can take care of themselves, then you can actually utilize, no, your concept of socialization, yung mga game-based activities. Actually marami diyan online, no, may mga resources na online kung paano tayo magawa ng mga activities online, no, na parang this is actually, they call that experiential activities, no. So virtual experiential activities, no, like for example may mga games na pwedeng gagamitin natin, no. So yung kumustahan, yung mga ganun ba, no? Aside from kumustahan, ano pang magawa natin? So marami talaga yung mga ganun, no? So marami mga resources, no, for that actually, and it's a good program, no, if you're doing that, sir.
Okay, and siguro, Doc, dagdag ko lang, no, we just have to be careful kasi online learning tayo. So meron tayong mga confidentiality issues. Alam mo na, mga bata minsan i-screen cap nila, tapos i-share nila. We have to be ano yun, dapat meron tayong guidelines before starting a program kasi mahirap i-control ang online. So yeah. So next po,
yung ano ko is yung parents, no. Focus on the parents.
Yes, oo. Na dapat nating pagtibayin talaga yung program din natin for the parents. Okay, so next po, in counseling from Romualdez. In counseling, when can we divulge to school owner or principal? O naku, may mga administrators tayo dito. And teachers, the issues on incest, suicide, and other sensitive issues that entails privacy and protection of our learners. Very interesting question. Yes,
okay,
Doc,
actually, no, may marami akong experience dito. In fact, no, I was reprimanded before when I was still the university counselor because I directly reported the incident to the ombudsman and to the social welfare office, not to the DSWD, without consulting the president of the school. So I was reprimanded. So, but I invoked to her, no, the legal mandate, especially in RA 7610, about reporting. No, so they don't have the right actually to know. They might, you can share to them that you reported the child, no, to this particular cause, but you don't give them the detail, no, of the problem. No, for example, the confidential issues, for example, no, of who committed this and that, no? So you can inform them, no? But you cannot divulge to them, no? So there's a difference between inform and divulge, no? So you inform them that I'll be reporting this child to the disability because of this particular concern, and that's it. But if the administrator would ask you, ano bang nangyari? Ba't si ko na kaya pala siya umiyak? Then lalabas na yung mga tinatawag nating chismis, no? Yung grapevine, no? For example, another case, no? There was this case of rape that the child mentioned about being raped by the father. Then the day after, no, the whole school, no, especially teachers knew about the rape incident because the counselors was asked by this particular, by the administrator, the principal, about the case of the child. No, so yung ganon, no, you can inform, no, the administrator that you are going to report this, and then if they're gonna ask why, then you tell them that it's an issue on child abuse, and that's it. No, so it's a general term actually. No, so you don't have to tell them, it's because of incest. So if you're going to tell that the administrator that it's incest, then who are the victim and the perpetrator? So more or less, it's the parents or the relatives. Then it would become a sensitive issue. And I think they don't have the right to know. So that's why in doing your mental health program, you should be familiar with the different legal mandates. No, as I said, child abuse, domestic violence, sexual harassment, issue on adoption. No, so it's in the family code. No, family code of the Philippines. No, so there's an issue on adoption, on custody. No, because chances are psychologists and other professionals would come to you and ask you about the child because they would want to know or assess kung saan ba yung favor yung child, no? If in case if it's a custody issue, and you cannot say because this child is always talking about his father, then I think he should go with the father. But you should be objective, no? So you should check on the legal mandate or the prescription of how to handle this kind of case, so that you would know at anong dapat mong titingnan, no? Kung for example problema ng custody, no, or problema ng adoption, no. So makita mo kung dapat ba siyang i-adopt or hindi. May mga ganun ba, no? So meron diyan, no. So hindi, as a counselor or as a teacher, hindi lang yung ano natin, no, yung Magna Carta natin, yung ano dapat nating babasahin or yung mga ano natin. No, we should also read the other legal mandates that is pertinent to the issue on children, no, on parenting, yung mga ganun ba, no? So dapat malaman natin yan.
Okay, follow-up question lang, Doc, sa situation na gano'n, no? What if the client said, wag na lang natin ipaalam. Let's keep it private. What can be the next move of,
Okay. In my case, no, when I for example, no, because I'm into domestic violence and child abuse, also intervention, yung gagawin ko is to report the case to the social welfare. No, in this case, it should be the DSWD. No, and sometimes the city has its own social welfare. No, but I would rather go to the social welfare office directly, no, the SWD directly, and report their case so that they can intervene. No, and then it's like delegating your case, no, to the proper authorities actually, because you already have done your part. You are already doing counseling or sort of intervention or assessment. Then the next step would be is to delegate or to forward the case, no, for to the other professionals. No, so
okay, so hindi
yes, ma'am.
Hindi naman po breach of confidentiality yun.
It is actually hindi yon breach of confidentiality because you are just referring the case, no. Wag mo munang ibigay yung report mo. Sabihin mo, I'm referring this case of possible to your God office. So I hope you want that this is a case of domestic violence that the father is a perpetrator, and I think as a counselor I see that the father is endangering the health of the child, so the child should be taken out from the home environment. No, so
okay, and then they do their task na.
Yeah. And sometimes actually there was an instance when I went with the child to the police station, no? to to bladder the case. No, but that was after the medical examination. Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Doc, for clearing that. Ito, Doc, very short lang. Ano, do you have a clinic daw in Manila? Kasi nasa
No,
Cebu
I
pa
don't have.
kayo.
I don't have. No, but I have friends there whom you can, yeah, contact with.
Okay. I'm sure there are others who are in Manila. This one, Doc. Follow-up question, Doc Tata. Are non-counselors, siguro non-registered to,
Yeah.
yet in charge of the guidance office, teachers allowed to do telecounseling or implement telehealth program? What are the limits?
Okay. First, I would like to discuss briefly about telehealth. Now, when we say telehealth, it's not about
Mhm.
telecounseling alone. No, there are telepromotions, no, teleadvocacy. No, so as non-registered or unregistered guidance counselors, they can actually do this. No, so they can just give a talk. No, it's like psychoeducating. No, so give
Mhm.
educational activities, no, to the family or to the child or to the parents. No, but if you're gonna do counseling, then that is another thing. Now you should be a licensed counselor not to do that particular practice. But we have what we call supportive communication. We have what we call therapeutic communication or effective listening. No, that is not counseling, though it's still the basic of counseling, but it's different from counseling because you are just listening, no, to the client. So you can actually you can call your practice as supportive communication practice, no, so you're not doing counseling, no, so you can do that actually. And uh, I don't know with the guidance and counseling act, but with PA, with our psychology act for the professional act, no, we have what they call exigency of service, no. So in this time, no, so even those who do not have licenses, no, they can do some sort of things, no. But after the crisis is over, then they should refer it to a professional or to a qualified professional, no? So ngayon wala na tayo sa crisis eh. I think we are now in the
Mhm.
second, the post pandemic level. So hindi na pwede yung exigency na clause na gagamitin natin if you're a
Mhm.
psychologist or a psychology specialist.
I think more on doc, no, more on psychological first aid na lang muna yung pwedeng gawin ng mga non-registered
Ye-
counselors.
Yeah, they call that actually psychological first aid. Others would call it supportive communication. The medical, the nursing side, they call it therapeutic communication. Yeah, so it's the same thing. No, pare-pareho lang yung principles
Mhm.
behind.
Mm. Okay, so I think that is our last question. May gusto pa bang humabol? Okay. So, thank you very much, Doc Tata. We learned a lot. Although kanina medyo nakaka-stress yung internet, no? Talagang parang nabubulol-bulol siya. Pero,
Okay.
congratulations! Ang
Hindi
ganda,
ko
ganda ng
aware.
So, yeah. That ends our question and answer. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ayun, sabi ko nga, one of the challenges talaga yung internet connection natin.
Mm.
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Tata and Miss Juliet. Maybe before, can you hear me? Am I
Okay.
registering?
Yes, I hear
So,
you. Yes, Ma'am Reg.
Oh, thank you, thank you. Maybe before we end the session, we could ask, well, first, siguro Dr. Tata for his maybe final tip or final words before we end this. Yes, Dr. Tata, go ahead.
Okay. My final word is mental health is a relational health. No, so focus more if you are doing or making a mental health program, then anchor this mental health program on relationship. So relationship to the self, relationship to the family, no, relationship to the teachers, and to the other personnel, and also to our environment. No, so it's more about relationship. So build up your relationship, and you will have a good mental health program.
Thank you, Dr. Tata. Very well said. Thank you. Miss Juliet, maybe from a guidance counselor's point of view or from the school's point of view, how do you think you can tie this all up together? Yeah, before we end the session.
Um, oh yeah. Well, nasa pandemic tayo. Um, there's a lot of feelings going around. There's a lot of things that is happening around. There are a lot of uncertainties, but according to Doc, there is a lot of things that we still can do. No, we stay with the feelings. We respect the feeling, but after that we have to do something. At ito yung I think strengthening the advocacy as a guidance counselor, no? So we have administrators here. We need your support, really, and also we need the support of the teacher. I think what Doc is saying here is we have to have a holistic mental health program that involves everybody, no, not just the counselor, not just the teachers, but also even the gardeners, the guard, and all. We have to give them trainings. And if we have a will, even there's no budget, there are a lot of resources and linkages that Doc has told us. So we have to tap that. I've been from a school before, small school, and I formulated a program with zero budget. So kung
Yeah.
advocacy mo talaga yan, humanap ka
Yeah.
ng paraan. Yeah.
Same here.
So that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why we're here. And this is just the first of four series, no? The talks on mental health. I'm sure that the Psychological Association of the Philippines has prepared for us would be able to help our schools. So again, thank you very much, Doc Tata, for our
Thank
keynote
you.
speaker for today. Thank you, Miss Juliet. Thank you for being our moderator for today. Thank you. So we'll see you again soon. All right. So also to our audience, thank you very much for staying with us today. And we hope to see you again in our other Chalk Talk online sessions. Because I'm sure you have learned a lot from today's session, and we have other sessions wherein you would be able to get something more. So on July 29, Wednesday, we will have another session with the UP Open University Remote Teaching and Learning Series, this time on assessment. So we'll have assessment in remote instruction. So I think that will be very interesting. And then on July 31, Friday, we continue with our Christ Evangelization and Faith series. This time we talk about organizing retreats, recollections in the new normal. So even if we are doing social distancing and distance learning is being implemented, we can still do retreats and recollections. How? Find out on July 31, Friday. And on August 6th, Thursday, we will have episode 2 of this is on family relations. No? As Dr. Tata has said earlier, it's not just mental health that we have to look into. We have to look into everything. It has to be holistic. So again, what is also important to look into is family relations. So let this session with the Love Institute help you. This one, we work on communicating and coaching within the family. So for our school administrators or teachers, please invite your parents, the parents of your students, to attend this session on August 6th. So there, we have actually a lot more Chalk Talk online sessions that is in store for you. Just visit our Facebook page to get to see our upcoming sessions. Just some reminders for those who have attended today's session, you would be receiving your certificates, e-certificates in 2 weeks. So please watch out for it in your emails. It will be sent to you through your emails. And then handouts are available for downloading. This is the presentation of Doc Tata for today. So it would be very good to download it so you would have reference. And then after this session, there would be an evaluation sheet that would come out. So please fill it out out so as to be able to help us to improve Shock Talk Online. Again, thank you very much, and we hope to see you again next time. This is Reggie Bundang. See you. Bye.
Quality education through quality textbooks.